Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Conversation with the Superintendent. We're joined now by Superintendent Dr. Donna Hargens to talk a little bit about employee questions and how we can better connect with our employees out in the district. So thank you very much, Dr. Hargens. This is our second in 4 installments for the school year.
Appreciate the opportunity and the questions.
Well, these questions were emailed in from our employees responding to our Fast 5 that was sent out. Okay. And the first question is from one of our employees who wonders, with the change in leadership in the House of Representatives in Kentucky, how do you think that may affect Common Core and the curriculum here in Jefferson County Public Schools?
Well, having talked to teachers, I know it's really important to have consistency with the standards. And so really in Kentucky, we've started calling these Kentucky standards, and they've been reviewed and revised. So I think it's important to think of them as Kentucky standards. And as the new accountability system is worked on, it's really important that there is alignment between what's assessed and what's really taught. So I see a real push in Kentucky to be consistent about Kentucky standards.
And you have been part of the conversations with the commissioner on refining and reviewing that assessment. How are those conversations going at the statewide level?
I am so encouraged because I'm on the steering committee, the accountability steering committee. And it's really taking a deep look at what's important here in Kentucky and how do we need to measure learning for students and success for students. So it started really wide with really great ideas, and things that are talked about is not having a single number to assess a school, but a dashboard of different indicators. So it really is going in a great direction. Now it's taking a long time, but there are lots of people involved, lots of subcommittees, and there's going to be a review period. So I'm excited at where we are, where we're moving, and excited really to bring something concrete to Jefferson County so that we can react to it and give the commissioner our feedback.
And our employees have really helped with providing feedback that they provided online and also at additional conversations with the commissioner.
Absolutely. Jefferson County has been really engaged in the process. We have representatives on many of the committees, so what the work is really going to reflect what we think. So I appreciate everyone, and the commissioner always asks to be sure that everyone is aware that the work is going on so that they do stay engaged. He does want the feedback and he wants people engaged. But Jefferson County is definitely in the house in this conversation and at the table.
Well, thank you for that update. And we had another question from an employee who wanted to know about surplus property and how we can better inform the public about what is available with surplus items and ideas that can be implemented at schools when it comes to surplus items.
Well, and I think technology is really getting to be a really effective tool in Jefferson County. So what people are working on is a website where they'll actually show the picture of the item so that it's really easy to see what's available and so that surplus items can be actually exchanged. And if somebody needs something, you have a sense of what it looks like. That's a real time saver. So I think operations is really doing a good job in purchasing of using technology to come up with something that hopefully will really help our employees with surplus items.
And what I understand, it would look something like an eBay for surplus property.
Right, and for all of us that are doing our shopping online, we know how convenient that is.
That's right, absolutely, absolutely, with the holiday season. And we did have a question that a lot of principals have asked and some teachers about the substitute teacher shortage. They're calling it a shortage of subs that we have for classrooms. Can you talk about what HR has been doing and working with principals to help solve this issue to make sure that we have more substitute teachers in the pool to be able to cover when an employee is absent?
Well, and I think what's happening is certainly it comes from the board level all the way through HR. Our board is really committed to making sure we have competitive salaries, and everyone will remember they raised our lowest paid employees to $14. So really recruiting and retaining employees is important. But our HR department is being very aggressive at recruiting people for all areas, including teaching areas. We know that we've been very aggressive with bus driver recruitment as well. So it's all across the board, and we want to make sure that every classroom has a substitute in it when we need a substitute. So, and there's been an incentive plan. So lots of work going on because we're a people-powered business. We know that people are the most important ingredient in the success of Jefferson County Public Schools. schools. So we're working really hard to get quality people, qualified people in all those roles.
And we also have our Vision 2020 that we work on, and we have an email available that we'll put up on the screen, that if employees have ideas that they can share with us on how we can move Vision 2020 forward, that we want to make sure that they share those ideas with us.
Absolutely. I think the best ideas come from listening to employees in the system. So, and Vision 2020 needs to be our strategic plan. So we really need to make sure that everybody's engaged in how we're implementing it.
And just quickly, I know that we talk about engaging, but we're also engaging at a cabinet level with listen and learn sessions to talk with schools about what can we do better, how can we give services to schools better, support services at schools better. Could you just briefly talk about that in those sessions that are taking place?
Well, we're doing listen and learn sessions, as you said, and it's really 11 randomly selected schools. And what Cabinet does is literally go to faculty meetings and just sit down at tables with faculties and then just ask questions. And exactly, we want to listen and learn how we can support schools better and what we can do that's important. So it's been the highlight of my year to actually sit with people who are actually doing the work and getting suggestions about what we're doing well, which is affirming, but more importantly, what we can do better to help support them.
And the final question that was submitted by some of our employees is, how is the new code of conduct working? We know that we have a new assistant superintendent who's overseeing that data entry and the training for employees. There are a couple of myth busters that I know you wanted to take the opportunity to point out, that we're trying to iron out some of that training, and so that that information gets down to every single employee within the building, accurate information about the code.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things that I want to make sure everybody remembers, that there have been years of work, months of work, very collaborative, teachers at the table, principals at the table, listening, parents at the table, to come up with what isn't even called that anymore. It's called the Student Support and Intervention Handbook. And it's a really it describes a system where 80% of the system is about positive ways to help kids learn how to choose the right behaviors, because that's what we're in the business of doing. But it really brings a lot of clarity when a student chooses an inappropriate behavior, what the consequence is. And we want to make sure that all of our students understand what the consequence is, and that that consequence is really applied fairly to them. So that's really important. So we want to bring what was maybe not clear and confusing to clarity. I actually have this handbook on the JCPS app on my phone. So whenever I have a question, I just pull it up and I look at the chart in here. And what I often hear, and that's the myth, that we lessen the consequences for students. What you need to look and see is that we really raised the consequences, especially when it had to do conduct against an employee or a teacher. So profanity directed at a teacher has a more serious consequence than profanity in the hallway. So we really took seriously making sure that students understood that those are serious offenses. But then what also has to happen is that when you have the consequence, that you repair the harm done. And that's restorative practices. So when you think of restorative practices, positive behavior intervention support, the Compassionate Schools Project, it's all about learning how to make better choices. But we know part of learning about choices is you have to be accountable for your choice. And we want to make sure that's done fairly and consistently across the system. So I would encourage everybody to look at it and to remember that lots of work went into it to make it better. And as you said, Dr. Katie Zeitz and review teams are looking at the data constantly to make sure that we can even refine it and make it better. So it's much better, but we know that with your input, it can even be better for the next iteration of the intervention handbook.
Absolutely. And quickly, before we wrap up, Dr. Hargens, it's the holidays, and what message would you like to share with our employees as they get ready to get out on break and spend time with their families?
We're about to have a holiday break, so what I wish for each one of you is the best holiday season ever, and I hope that you'll stop and pause and enjoy your family, your friends, the fellowship, because you are important to them. And when you come back, I hope you'll remember how important you are to Jefferson County Public Schools and to our students. So refuel, refresh, a well-deserved, well-earned break, and I know you'll be ready for the next year.
And we'll be ready.
And we'll be ready.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hargens. Happy holidays to you and your family. And we look forward to seeing you for our next edition of Conversations with the Superintendent. Happy holidays.